Buenos días, buenas tardes, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and welcome back to the Making Miami podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us. He has over 25 years of public service under his belt. He was the former manager of the city of North Miami Beach, and he's your newest District 4 commissioner for the city of Miami, and his name is pink, just like his ties. Welcome, Commissioner Ralph Rosado, to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Josie, for having me. I know you said that, and today I happen to not be wearing a tie at all, but
It's
next
okay.
time I'll be wearing a tie. But the jacket is pink.
Yes, the jacket is pink, and so is your bracelet.
And so is my bracelet. Yes, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We are very much, raising money for this. I've had relatives and friends that have had to deal with this issue, and certainly it's something we've got to find a cure.
100%. Cancer is a terrible disease. My own dad passed away from prostate cancer, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. But on a much lighter note, we're super happy to have you. Very thankful to have you here this afternoon. And Commissioner, you have a really interesting story. You were born in Little Havana in the 70s. You're a Cuban American.
Yes.
You went to Belen. You're a family man with wife and kids. But you also have 2 degrees from Princeton University, 1 from FIU, and a PhD from UPenn. And like I mentioned, you were the former city manager for North Bay Village and have so many years of public service. With all this experience, what is it that lies at the core of your leadership on the city commission?
What a great question. I think at the very essence of it, I love to help people, right? So I'm happy when I wake up in the morning and I think, like, here's something that people are looking for that I can help them, be able to achieve or obtain. And it just keeps me, very excited. I love helping the public. I love meeting new people every day and figuring out, what are they happy about, what's challenging to them, and how can I help them overcome that challenge.
That's great. I think we need a lot more of that type of leadership. It was, I think, Aristotle that talks about the virtuous man, right? And there's 3 types of people, if I remember correctly. The type of person that's just like a Don Giovanni and does whatever he wants. And then there's the person that does good but grits his teeth. And then there's the virtuous man. And the virtuous man does good and loves doing good. And I think that type of motivation is the type of thing that we need in public service. So
Absolutely. That's what gets me excited.
Yes. And do you think there's anything about your background, about perhaps being this fresh new face on the commission, growing up Cuban American, that maybe led you to public service?
I think one of the things that I bring to the table is having, worked in this field professionally and studied these kinds of things also. I think it's allowed us, in my team, I have a great team at the district. I think it's allowed us to really sort of hit the ground running and offer a number of ideas that we've seen or read about that have worked somewhere else. And we're excited to bring that to the city of Miami, which is our oldest city in terms of Miami-Dade County, and yet it's a city where there's a lot of opportunities still to do a lot of good, do fresh new things, and help as many people as possible.
That's incredible. And you've also always been very big on the urban planning and development side of things. You're expanding the sidewalks, doing lots of tree plantings. You have the 365-day initiative. And now you've got the Miami Loop connecting Gables, Ludlam Trail, Baywalk, and so many other areas. On his face, I feel like so many people might think this is more of the metro mover, more overdevelopment, but you've historically been against that type of thing. You fought against overdevelopment with Coral Gate.
Yes.
In practice, what will be the experience of going through the new Miami Loop be? What is the Miami Loop going to look like?
So it's an idea that my friend Mari Chael had conceived about 10 years ago. She's a very talented architect. Her husband is Victor Dover. They actually live here in South Miami where Community News is located, and they're very involved in the community, and they came to the conclusion that there's a series of either existing trails or potential trails like the Underline and Ludlam Trail, Commodore Trail, and a number of others. And if you really look at a map, you can figure out a way to connect them all, right? So if you connect all these things with the bike paths that take you to Key Biscayne, with the Old Cutler Trail, which heads into South Dade, with the Baywalk downtown, with the proposed underdeck, or Graham Greenway is what the city of Miami is calling it, you can actually physically connect all these things, and you would have a trail network that's 223 miles that you could walk or bike or run, and certainly take your family on, and it would be one of the longest trails in the country. And the challenge has been one of coordination, because there are people that are interested in a lot of these different segments, but Marichad took a step back and she said, there's actual physical way to connect them all. And some of these are moving forward, like the Underline is moving forward pretty well. They've raised a lot of money. It's very organized. Meg Daly has done a great job. But some of the other trails are not as advanced. And so the idea is that, I spoke with the rest of the city commission. We had an agenda item to basically hire or assign somebody within the city from the Parks Department to help us to coordinate all these efforts. Why they're important to Miami in particular, I mean, they're important to all of South Florida and Miami-Dade County, but why they're important to Miami in particular is that Miami's at the very geographic center of this all. It's the center of the loop. And the loop, when it's built, it would actually include all 5 commission districts. So it would touch every neighborhood in the city, essentially. So I think because we're at the middle, I think because we're the biggest city in the county, we've got a responsibility to be at the forefront and actually push this forward and get this built.
That's incredible. And so really in practice, this is more of a series of interconnecting sidewalks and things like that. It's not like
and pathways for bicycling and running and walking. Yes.
It's not this insane New York-esque project that people think it is. And I think that this is such a noble effort on your part, because a lot of the issues that we're having now with transit is that lack of interconnectivity.
Absolutely.
So that's wonderful. And does this tie in at all with some of the work that you're doing downtown with the DDA or the DDA chairman?
Yes.
And so for those who don't know, what does the Downtown Development Authority, the DDA, do? And what's the importance in making that interconnectivity? And I know you're also working on making those beginning blocks of Flagler completely pedestrian areas. So talk to us about some of that.
You got it. So the Downtown Development Authority is a quasi-independent agency. So the budget for the DDA is approved not just by the board of directors. We have a board of directors that includes people that live and work in downtown. And when I say downtown, it's 3 neighborhoods essentially. So it's Brickell. It is what they call the Central Business District, which is where you find County Hall and Bayfront Park and most of Flagler Street downtown. And it also includes the arts and entertainment area, which is where you find Miami World Center, right? So everything's sort of heading up and even a little bit past the Arch Center. And it's an agency that's been around several decades. And the idea is that nobody wanted to live downtown in the past. People were scared. It wasn't particularly safe. It was kind of boring in many ways. And so they created this agency that reports ultimately to the city commission, but where you do an additional tax on folks that live in the areas that I mentioned, and the money is spent to have additional police officers, to have people cleaning the sidewalks every day, multiple times a day, to do arts and cultural programming, to do all sorts of beautification efforts. So it's a neighborhood that's so dense. It's one of the densest neighborhoods in the entire country, and so we provide an additional level of services. As a commissioner, we choose amongst ourselves who's going to head a series of agencies affiliated with the city. And so my colleagues happen to vote for me to be the chair of the DDA for the next, perhaps a couple years, let's say. And so I get the great fortune to work with a number of folks that are very passionate about downtown and getting all these things done and helping to tackle other issues like reduce the number of, folks that are homeless living downtown and finding them instead a place to live and some jobs, et cetera. And so it's important to be able to connect these neighborhoods, and the loop actually does go through downtown. So we've got a bay walk along the water. A lot of it is already built, and you see it at the back of restaurants and condos and other places, and some of it still needs to be built. And then we've got, like I mentioned, what they call the underdeck under 95, like where the Signature Bridge is being built. That would be something that would be part of the loop as well. And so this is, the loop is very important, even though it's beyond the city's boundaries. The very sort of heart of it, the center of it, is within the downtown boundaries. So all these roles sort of overlap.
Yeah, everything ultimately ties together, and the DDA does so much more than I think people realize, because you hear Downtown Development Authority and you think, okay, this is probably just real estate or something like that.
Right.
But residents come out to the meetings, and these are publicly held meetings.
Residents come out to the meetings. The meetings are held. It's next Friday, so it's almost the last Friday of every month, essentially. And we have a board of directors that it's 15 people right now, all of whom either live or work downtown. We're actually expanding it a little bit more. We want to have a few more resident voices. We're changing the bylaws to make sure that at least 40% of the folks on the board of directors are residents, and the others can be business owners, or some people can be both. Some people live downtown, work downtown. And it's a way to get those voices out there and take care of the things that folks care about downtown. So this month, in the month of October, on social media, we actually have a campaign called 31 Days of DDA, where every single day we're featuring something different that the agency does. Because I think the agency does a lot more than people realize, and I want to make sure we tell the story about all the good things taking place. I'll give you an example. I mentioned that we pay for additional policing, right? Because you have so many people living and working in such a concentrated area that you need more police officers than you would, say, in other neighborhoods in the city where there aren't as many folks, right? And so we provide an additional 650 hours of policing above and beyond what the city would normally give. And in addition to that, we launched a few weeks ago a drone. It's called the First Responder Drone for downtown. And what it is, it can only go within the DDA boundaries if there's an event like Ultra or the Miami Marathon or something big like that, like a big event. Or if there's, let's say, God forbid, a shooting downtown, the drone will go in, scan what's going on. It reports back to police headquarters, like automatically. And then we can make a decision about like, oh, we need to send 5 more police officers down, Northwest 1st Street or something like that to be able to tackle those issues. So that's paid for through the DDA. We're actually going to have in a few weeks a contest to name the drone, right? So it's kind of quirky, but we've got this drone. We want to have a creative name for it. And what we have going on right now is that we're actually the DDA is paying for 2 horses. So we're going to have police officers on horses, really for like the Brickell area in particular. And it sounds like, why wouldn't you just have more police cars? But the reality is Brickell is a lot of folks concentrated in a tight space. And so having police officers on horseback, they can get into places that you can't get into with a car. Right, we've all been like on the Brickell Bridge, and you've got all that area around Brickell City Center, et cetera. So many things going on. Sometimes it's hard to get a car in and out, but a police officer on a horse can kind of go anywhere because they can ride on the sidewalk, they can go between cars, and so if something is happening, or let's say the bridge is stuck, or somebody needs emergency help, sending an officer on horseback is actually really easy. Now, we bought 2 horses. One's a boy horse, one's a girl horse. So right now we have a contest to name the horses. So please check that out on the social media pages for the DDA and let us know what you think. People have been submitting names. Let us know what you think about the names being submitted.
That's a really fun way to get some citizen engagement in.
Exactly.
And I really
and the horses are going to be around for a long
cute.
time. People are going to feel like they're their pets.
Well, everybody likes to come up and touch the police horses. I mean,
Yes.
have you been to St. Augustine? You know that the officers ride around in horses there all the time too, and everyone's always coming up to the horses and stuff like that.
People love the horses.
And it's really creative, and it's a great way to integrate safety through the DDA.
Yes.
Because like you mentioned, the horses get to go to places that others don't.
Yes.
I mean, streets downtown are closed all the time for one reason or another. And the drone I find really interesting because while people bring up safety concerns, I think a really good thing that you guys have done with the drone is that while the DDA paid for it,
Right.
it's being managed very ethically by the police department.
That's correct. Yeah, so our police headquarters happens to be downtown, so it can kind of like, it's actually within the DDA boundaries. And so they've got our police headquarters there across from County Hall, and it can land on the rooftop. It's got its little base there, and it like descends, it recharges, and then we can release it whenever we hear of anything or, get a call, a tip, something's going on. Or if there's like a big event that has a crowd, like if there's a parade or something like that, we can just send it to like, hover above, figure out what's going on, report back, and we know if we need to send additional police officers or not.
That's very interesting. And then you also touched very briefly on some business activations that you guys are going to be doing downtown.
Absolutely.
I heard about some salsa classes. Are we going to be seeing you doing a rueda soon, Commissioner?
You are going to be seeing me do salsa classes. I think we're starting in December. You will see me there. We've got a number of events. We are constantly cutting ribbons for different things. I have a ribbon cutting downtown this evening for an event company that's opening up, that they do like very like big special events, very sort of fancy kinds of things, very fun and creative. And so we've cut ribbons for a wine shop and a pizza shop, sushi, just all kinds of stuff. And what happens is the DDA actually helps people open up their businesses. You get business grants. A lot of businesses do every single year. And we also have at the first floor of the Olympia Theater, we have what's called the DDA Permit Clinic. So if you live downtown, work downtown, if you are trying to pull a permit, you can actually go in, just call in advance and go in and they will help you pull your city and county permits to do any sort of renovation, open up your business. I mean, it's incredibly helpful. There's a woman named Wanda that kind of sees you from A to Z. So you get in there, you get Wanda's cell phone. She explains to you the process, helps you fill out the forms. You get periodic updates from her. The electrical portion of the permit hasn't been finished. She'll find out exactly what's going on, and she'll get you to be able to open up your business or renovate your condo or your apartment. It's
almost
a
like
beautiful thing.
Like a permit concierge service.
I was going to say it's a concierge service. Whenever I've been there a few times, everybody who's in there hugs her because she's so helpful to them. The permitting process can be really scary to people. and it's confusing, and it's a lot of departments. And this way we have one point of contact where she is your person that helps you from the first step to the last.
That's incredible. And permits, I mean, I've had experiences with business permits where they could take upwards of a year. And so that's a really necessary activity and service that you guys are providing. So if a business wants to get in contact with the city for that business activation help, besides the permitting, stuff like the events and all that type of thing, how can they do so?
The easiest thing, I think, is the website. It's miamidda.com, and it gives you all the information for who to call for what, because they've got different services and things they provide, and you've got the directory there for every single step.
Perfect. And, you know, I'm noticing a pattern of emphasis on quality of life, of accessibility. I don't think there's anything more exemplative of that in your initiatives than the new CASA project that you guys have started since you've gotten into office, focusing on community, adaptability, safety, and affordability.
Yes.
So what inspired the CASA initiative? And talk to us a little bit about some of the adjacent programs like SAVE for discounted home permits and Land of Freedom?
Yeah, Land of Opportunity.
Land of Opportunity.
Yeah. So, you know, I came in with a lot of ideas. I thought, let me try to kind of tie everything together. And so CASA means a home or house in Spanish. District 4 is a primarily Spanish-speaking district, maybe more so even than the others. And so I wanted to have something that folks would recognize, whether they speak English or Spanish, that ties together all the stuff we're working on. So you mentioned, you know, it's CASA, essentially. It's an acronym. And it means not just house or home, but that the idea that we could build something special together. You know, working together, we can make District 4 an even better home for all our residents. And so we've got initiatives from each of those pillars. I will tell you, in terms of adaptability, something that we're going to be promoting quite a bit is the SAVE program. And SAVE stands for Stormproof Assistance and Value Enhancements. And the idea is that there's probably a lot of people sitting at home that are thinking, you know, I've been thinking about replacing my roof, or maybe I'll put in impact windows and doors. You know, I've been thinking about getting a generator or putting in, you know, low energy appliances, et cetera, and they maybe haven't done it. And so what we've done, and this is something the commission voted on unanimously, is during the year 2026, if you come to the city and you pull a permit for either replacement of your roof, putting in low energy appliances, solar panels, impact windows or doors, anything that protects your home from hurricanes or makes it more energy efficient and therefore more affordable, we're going to give you 50% off on your permit fees. So whatever the permit fees are, we're going to give you a 50% discount if you come in during the year 2026. So we're going to spend the rest of this year promoting it, and we're going to spend all of next year promoting it. We're going to tell folks, come in by the end of 2026, pull a permit for any of these things, and you'll pay half of what you would normally pay to pull that city permit. So we're hoping to save people a lot of money and encourage them to make their homes stronger, safer, and more affordable, because their costs should come down if they install solar panels or if they put impact windows and doors that are more energy efficient, that bring down your cooling costs, for example. We want to help our residents.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful incentive as well to get people to do things through the legal pathways.
Right.
A lot of the barrier of permits is both how difficult they are to take out, but also how expensive they are.
Yes.
And so by reducing the cost, you're also helping very much so the elderly.
Absolutely.
I can't score how many elderly people went after the My Safe Florida Home Initiative that the state put out, which is similar in nature in terms of fortifying the home. And so this is fantastic for the residents of the city. And so Land of Opportunity is another thing where you're also helping our nonprofits and our churches.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about that, and as well as the affordability that goes along with it.
Sure. So that's one of the things we want to do in terms of, you know, promoting affordability of our communities, our neighborhoods, and our homes, is we've realized that a lot of land that's owned, you know, we're in this case the city of Miami, but the reality is all over the place, is owned either by churches, it's owned by schools, you know, whether it's the Miami-Dade County Public Schools or other schools, it's owned by nonprofits. There's even a lot of government-owned land that's used for different things. And so what we're doing is, with this initiative, we're hoping to make housing as of right, where it'll be easy to create housing units on properties owned by, you know, let's say the Catholic Church as one example, or Legal Services of Greater Miami, which owns their own property, and other nonprofits and schools, et cetera. And so this will allow them to create housing on their sites. And this does two really important things. Number one, it should create more housing opportunities for folks that need more affordably priced housing, right? In this case, let's say you're looking for an apartment. If you were to live on one of these properties, you don't have to buy the land because somebody else already owns it. And these are all organizations that they're very mission focused. They're not profit focused per se. They're mission focused on helping the community in one way or another. This will help the person that's moving into the housing, but it also helps whatever the entity is that owns the land, right? We know that the church collects, money to be able to create new buildings and do renovations, et cetera. We know nonprofits are always struggling to find extra money for things. There's a lot of organizations out there that own property, have extra space on it where housing could be built, like let's say small apartment buildings, and this would provide them an additional revenue source to help keep their operations going.
These additional resources, I think, are so pivotal to helping with the cost of living crisis and doing so in a creative way.
Yes.
I think these solutions are welcome in the advent of a time where there isn't much creativity in legislation.
Yeah.
And so this is a really unique way to help people out, to bring rents down, to help nonprofits, churches, all that type of thing. And so keeping on with the theme of CASA, of homes, there's a proposed resolution that you've supported since the early days of your campaign, which is that for low-income seniors, they may no longer have to pay a city property tax.
That's right.
So what's the status of that tax relief resolution?
It was approved.
Okay.
It was approved. And so it's going to, for legal reasons, it has to be a rebate. But the idea is that low-income senior citizens will get a rebate on their city property taxes, right? So when you pay your taxes, you pay to the county, you pay to the school board and a series of special districts, et cetera. But you will get back, if you're a low-income senior citizen that is a homeowner, you'll get back a check from the city refunding your city portion of your property taxes. And it's a rebate for legal reasons, but also because the city's not the one that sends you that bill. It's actually the county is the one that collects the money, right? So the city will get it from the county, and then they'll send back individual checks to this, low-income senior citizens. So this can be, in many cases, a saving of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So this should help a lot of people. And we got this approved. It was unanimously approved by the commission, and it's an exciting way to help back our senior citizens who have built this community.
100%. And is there a particular way that they might have to apply? Is it automatic?
It's actually going to be automatic.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So the seniors don't even have to really go out there and talk to the county
They'll
or anything
receive
like that. They'll just receive
check back from the city.
What a great surprise, right? I want to open the mail and find a check.
Exactly. What a nice thing.
And another proposed resolution of yours will actually be making its way to the ballot very, very soon.
Yes.
Which is establishing a charter review commission. So walk us through what that is, why the city needs one,
Yes.
and what that language on the ballot will mean.
Absolutely. So the city's charter, every city has a charter, and your charter is essentially your constitution for your city level government. And it's where you have like all your longstanding, most important laws, because you can change laws, pretty often, but these are like your fundamental laws that created your city. And, many cities have a requirement where they update that charter every 5 years or 10 years. Like they pick a number of years and they put together what's called a charter review commission. Usually it's residents that say, hey, this part over here about zoning legislation, or this part here about, let's say something like, I don't know, food trucks. Like it could be on anything. The laws are revisited every certain number of years. You propose those changes to the law at the city commission. City commission puts questions out there and voters choose if they want to change those laws or not. What I was kind of surprised to learn is the city of Miami doesn't have a requirement to do this at all. So they have done this where they periodically change their charter, but there's no requirement to do it any certain number of years. And so one of the most common ways to do it is just to require it every 10 years. So I have a question on the November ballot that City of Miami voters are voting on. It's question number 1 out of the 4 referendum questions. And it says very explicitly, if you vote yes, the City of Miami will have to put together a review committee of citizens every 10 years and review the entire city charter and see if laws should be changed. And it's important to do this periodically because things change over time, like the world changes. We want to make sure that our laws keep up with those changes. And so this would require us to do it. Right now, there's no requirement for the city to do it at all. So this builds in that requirement to have citizens take a fresh look at our city constitution and propose changes.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's almost surprising to me that you guys didn't have a city charter review, because Doral and all these other municipalities have one.
It is common in just about every other city. It is unusual. City of Miami doesn't have this requirement at all.
Yeah.
And so then you end up with like outdated laws in some cases.
And not just that, but like you said, changes get almost brought about randomly or by force whenever there's a controversy or a problem.
Right.
And so why can't we be proactive and establish this board?
Josie, that's exactly right. This is about being proactive. This is about saying we've got to be proactive. So every 10 years, let's be as proactive as we can, put together a group of citizens. Every commissioner would appoint somebody, the mayor, the manager, they would appoint somebody. And you have a committee of like concerned citizens that represent the entire city, because they'd all be from different neighborhoods. And they would take a look at a fresh look at our laws and say, you know what, this is really outdated, or this doesn't reflect the way that the community works or how Miami works. Let's update that. Let's bring it back to voters. And ultimately, the voters will get to choose what laws to change.
Yeah, that's the cornerstone of our democracy, and I think that's a huge part of the fact. It's part of the fresh views that you bring to the city commission, and being a younger elected official and a new face. Some of that infusion of new blood, you're modernizing things like with your Sabor D4 series.
Yes.
And that's super fun. So how are you using that to connect with your residents, businesses, young and old alike?
That's been a lot of fun. So Sabor D4 is our sort of our way to promote local restaurants, and we're also going to be promoting people as part of it. But so far we've started off with restaurants, and the idea is to try places that have been recommended to us that maybe aren't really, really well known yet. And that are very, very good, restaurants. And so we've been visiting places throughout the district. We've got at least one restaurant a month that we're going to be featuring. And we've got really special places, people that really care. They want to be there a long time. And we're helping them get the word out about the really delicious food they offer. So, we visited Mr. Sweet Dogs 305, and amazing hot dogs. We actually visited Sergio's on their 50th anniversary. That's one of the more
That was a great episode with Francis.
That was a great one with the mayor, and I think for each of them we're going to be, the first one, we went to Wagyu Bar. I went with my wife, and we visited Wagyu Bar, which hasn't been there that long, because it was the only restaurant in District 4 participating in Miami Spice Month.
Okay.
And so we wanted to feature them. It was delicious, sort of Asian, very high quality beef. It was wonderful. And then we went from there to hot dogs, a really funky hot dog place, and then Sergio's. And now we've got a more fancy place that we're going to do for next month. So stay tuned for that. But we're having a lot of fun.
Taste all across the board and all across the district.
All across the district, eating all the good food.
And all right. And so my last question for you today, Commissioner, long term, what's your vision for your district? You said in your 100 Days op-ed, quote, "We've laid the foundation, now we'll build the future, our home, our CASA, together." What do you want the District 4 CASA to look like when it's all said and done?
What a great question. We want to make sure that folks are more connected, that they feel safer, that they feel like we're making living in Miami more affordable to them. We want them to feel like we're offering amenities that they didn't have before. Like, I'll give you an example. There's one that we're working on. We've called it SHARE, which is schools helping activate recreation for everyone. And what that is we've got 7 public schools in District 4, and residents would love to have access to the school fields, right? So not every neighborhood has a park. Even if you have a park, it might be a small park. You might not have access to tennis or soccer fields or baseball or a variety of things, or playground equipment, et cetera. And so we're working out an agreement with the school board where after school and on weekends, we have access to all the school fields in District 4 and across the city of Miami. This should be approved before the end of the year, and suddenly you're going to see that we're going to be opening up the school fields, and you'll be able to take your kids, and instead of getting in the car and driving for 20 minutes, you can maybe just walk across the street to your local elementary school. You can kick a ball, you can play some hoops, and have a good time. And it's a way to amplify what we can offer our residents in terms of parks and recreation without having to buy a ton of land, right? Land is so expensive everywhere in the city. This gives us access to existing recreational opportunities that aren't used at night, that aren't used on the weekends. And so our school board is a great partner to us on this. It's something that's been done to an extent in different cities in Miami-Dade, but this is the first time the city of Miami is going to be doing it.
Wow.
We're really excited.
So, and I'm likewise very excited to see your vision for D4 play out over the next few years for the rest of your term and hopefully another one.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you to our producer, Rachel, your amazing staff who helped coordinate us, and your son who joined us today.
Yes.
Shout out. All right. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.